I want to start today with a scenario that I think every single person listening has experienced this. You're having a perfectly normal Tuesday,
Hmm.
drinking your coffee, checking your email, and then someone, your boss, your spouse, sends a text with just four simple words.
Mm.
We need to talk.
Oh, the universal code for impending doom.
Yes, right. It is instant, biological panic. Your stomach drops, your palms get sweaty. It doesn't matter who you are.
No, it doesn't. And that phrase triggers our fight or flight response. And, most of us choose flight.
We absolutely do. We avoid it, we let things fester, or if we do have the talk, we go in so defensive we make it 10 times worse.
Exactly. And that anxiety, it exists because we view conflict as, a danger to be survived, not a problem to be solved.
Which brings us to our focus for this deep dive. We are unpacking the book, Difficult Conversations, How to Discuss What Matters Most. And I want to be clear, this is not just some how to be nice guide.
Not at all. This is a heavy hitter. The authors are Douglas Stone, Bruce Patton, and Sheila Heen, and these aren't just casual observers. They're key figures from the Harvard Negotiation Project.
The Harvard Negotiation Project. I mean, that sounds like they aren't dealing with petty squabbles.
They deal with high-stakes international conflict, corporate mergers. I mean, they've spent decades deconstructing why smart, capable people just fall apart when they disagree.
The book came out in 1999. It just struck me how much more relevant it feels now.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. We're more connected than ever, but our communication is often, stripped of context.
Slack, email, Zoom.
Exactly. All these places where tone gets lost and misunderstandings can just fester. We have more opportunities for conflict, but way fewer tools to handle it gracefully.
We're firing off text instead of reading body language.
Precisely. And the promise of this book, and why I think it's so valuable, is that it offers a framework for competence. It moves you from that feeling of dread.
Yeah, that I hope this goes away feeling.
Right, to a place where you can say, okay, this is going to be uncomfortable, but I have the tools to handle it without burning the whole relationship down.
I love that. Competence over comfort. So let's get into the core breakdown. The authors start with this really fascinating premise. They say, we think we're having one conversation, but we're actually having three.
Right. Three simultaneous realities playing out all at once. And because we only pay attention to one of them, we miss the other two.
And that's why we get stuck.
That's why we get stuck in loops.
So let's peel these layers back. The first one they identify is the what happened conversation.
This is the surface layer. This is where we spend like 90% of our time. It's all about the facts. Who said what? Who did what? Who is right?
And who is wrong. This feels like the detective phase. Like, I have my evidence, you have yours, and I just need to show you my folder so you realize I'm right.
Exactly. The authors call this the truth trap. We assume the goal is to establish the one single objective truth. But in almost every difficult conversation, the conflict isn't really about the facts.
It's about what?
It's about conflicting perceptions. You see the world through your lens. I see through mine. And if I spend the whole time trying to prove my truth.
You're basically telling me my perception is crazy or wrong.
Yes. And as long as we stay in that trap, we're just banging our heads together. We have to move from proving I'm right to understanding why we see this differently.
Okay, but inside this what happened layer, there's another trap that I think is even more dangerous.
Intent versus impact.
This was a huge aha moment for me. The distinction between what I meant to do and how it actually landed on you.
It seems so simple, but we mess it up constantly. There's this fundamental error we all make. We judge ourselves by our good intentions, but we judge others by their negative impact on us.
Can you give us an example of that?
Sure. Let's say I don't reply to your email for 2 days. My intent, I was totally swamped. I wanted to give you a thoughtful answer. I just didn't get to it. I know I'm a good person with good intentions.
But on my end, the impact is...
The impact is frustration. You feel ignored. You feel unimportant. And here's the leap we make. Because you feel ignored, you assume I intended to ignore you.
So I create a whole story about your character based on my feelings. You're disrespectful.
Exactly. You don't care about this project. The authors argue you have to disentangle this. You have to be able to say, I felt disregarded by the delay, but I don't actually know what your intent was. That separation creates space.
That leads right into the third part of this first layer, blame versus contribution. This is a tough shift because, let's be honest, blaming feels good sometimes.
Oh, it's seductive because it's easy. Blame looks backward, it judges, and it punishes. But blame, it rarely solves the problem. The author suggests shifting to contribution.
So the question isn't, whose fault is this?
No. The question is, how did we both contribute to this mess?
Okay, I can hear a listener pushing back on this, though. If someone clearly dropped the ball, say an employee didn't file a report, isn't asking about my contribution, just letting them off the hook.
That's a very common fear. But contribution isn't about moral equivalence. It's not saying we're both 50% at fault. The other person might be 90% responsible.
But you still have to look at your 10%.
You have to. Did you check in? Were your instructions clear? Did you create an environment where they felt safe asking for help?
I see. So it's about empowerment. If I only blame you, I'm just waiting for you to change. If I look at my contribution, I can actually change the dynamic myself.
Precisely. Blame leaves you stuck. Contribution helps you learn.
Okay, so that's layer 1. What happened?
Oh.
Facts, intent, contribution. Now we go deeper. Layer 2 is the feelings conversation.
This is the one we always try to skip, especially at work. We have this script that says, let's be professional, leave emotion out of it.
Stick to the facts. I have definitely said that.
And the authors, again, these are Harvard negotiators, they say that's a total fantasy. Difficult conversations don't just involve feelings.
They are about feelings.
They are about feelings. If we're arguing about a budget, we aren't just doing math. We're navigating trust, respect, fear of failure, feeling undervalued. Those feelings are the engine driving the conflict.
So what happens when we try to suppress them? When we
Yeah.
try to be this stoic robot?
They leak. The authors call it emotional leakage. You might not say I'm angry, but it comes out in your sarcastic tone, your body language.
Oh, that passive-aggressive email you sent 3 hours later.
Totally. They have this great line, have your feelings or they will have you.
That is powerful. Have your feelings or they will have you.
So the strategy isn't to turn every meeting into a therapy session.
No, but you have to acknowledge the data. You have to name it. First to yourself, I'm not just annoyed about the timeline. I'm actually feeling really anxious about this.
And once you identify it,
You can express it without attacking. There's a huge difference between screaming, "You are so incompetent," and saying, "When the deadline was missed, I felt really panicked about our reputation." One's an attack, the other's a disclosure. Okay, that leads us to the bottom of the ocean. Layer 3, the identity conversation.
yes.
I think this is the most profound part of the book for me.
Yeah.
It explains why some feedback feels like a physical punch to the gut.
It's the internal quake. This conversation isn't about the other person at all. It's a conversation you are having with yourself about what this conflict says about you.
The authors identify 3 core questions we're always asking ourselves, right? Am I competent? Am I a good person?
And am I worthy of love?
Exactly. Let's take a performance review.
Yeah.
Your boss says, "Hey, there were a few errors in this report." On the surface, that's a what happened conversation about typos.
Right.
But if your identity is built on being the perfectionist, that feedback triggers a full-blown identity trace. You don't hear "fix the typos."
Yeah.
You hear "you are incompetent."
And that's when the panic sets in. You spiral.
You go into all or nothing thinking, if I made a mistake, I am a total failure.
Wow.
And when your identity is shattering, you cannot listen. You either get super defensive or you just collapse. So how do we stop the quake?
You have to ground your identity. You have to accept nuance about yourself. You move from I am competent to I am a competent person who sometimes makes mistakes.
It's like building shock absorbers for your ego.
That is a perfect metaphor. If your identity is rigid, it shatters. If it's flexible and nuanced, it can absorb the blow without collapsing.
So we've got these 3 layers. We get trapped in truth, we suppress our feelings, and our identity gets threatened. So how do we actually change the way we talk? The authors talk about shifting our stance.
This is the move from a message delivery stance to a learning stance.
Okay, so most of us go in with a message delivery goal. I have something to tell you, I have the truth, and my job is to get it into your head.
Right. I'm going to set you straight. The learning stance is completely different. It starts with the assumption, I know what I see, but I don't know what you see. I have no idea what your intent was.
It relies on curiosity, but I have to play devil's advocate. If I'm furious with someone, how do I fake curiosity?
You don't fake it. That's the key. People can smell fake curiosity a mile away, and it just feels manipulative.
So what do you do?
You have to genuinely believe that you might be missing information. Because the reality is you almost always are. You don't have to agree with their rationale, but you have to understand it to have any hope of influencing them.
So curiosity isn't about being soft. It's about being strategic.
Exactly. You can't move someone if you don't know where they're standing. And this ties right into emotional intelligence. You can't manage the conversation if you can't manage yourself.
The authors also use this beautiful metaphor. They compare a conversation to a dance.
Yes, most of us march. We have our talking points, and we're just going to march through them no matter what. But a conversation requires a partner.
You have to react.
You have to adjust. It requires rhythm and balance. You can't just force your way through a dance without stepping on everyone's toes.
I love that. So let's get tactical. How do we start the dance? We know we need to talk is out. What do we say instead?
They suggest a tool called the third story. The third story is probably the most immediately useful tool in the entire book.
Okay, walk us through it.
So usually we start a difficult conversation from our story. You miss the deadline. That immediately triggers their defense.
Right.
Or we try to be nice and start inside their story. I know you've been so stressed, which can sound, patronizing.
So what's the third story?
The third story is the view from a neutral observer, a mediator on the wall. It describes the problem between us rather than the problem with you.
Can you give us a real-world script for that?
Mhm.
Let's say a coworker keeps interrupting you in meetings.
Okay. The message delivery start is, you need to stop interrupting me. That's an attack.
Totally.
The third story start is something like, hey, I want to talk about how our team meetings are going. I've noticed we have different styles of jumping in with ideas, and I felt a bit sidelined yesterday. I'd love to understand how you see the flow of those meetings.
Wow, that is completely different. You're not accusing them. You're identifying a difference in style as the problem to be solved together.
Exactly. You're inviting them to stand next to you and look at the problem instead of standing across from you and throwing rocks.
And before you even open your mouth to say that, there's a preparation step they insist on, the purpose check.
Yes, the sanity check. You have to ask yourself, what is my purpose for having this conversation? And if the answer is to make them feel bad or to prove I'm right,
Stop. Don't have the talk.
you aren't ready.
Yeah.
Those purposes never lead to a resolution. They just escalate. A valid purpose is to learn their perspective, to express my views, or to solve a problem.
And once you're in the conversation, the main tool is active listening, but not just nodding and saying, uh-huh.
No, they mean inquiring to learn, asking open-ended questions like, can you say more about that? And crucially, paraphrasing.
So what I'm hearing is,
Yes, but you have to do it until they agree. It sounds like you're frustrated because you didn't have the data you needed. Is that right?
is that right?
Yeah.
Check is key.
It is. Because until people feel heard, until they say yes, exactly, they physically cannot listen to you. Their brain is stuck on broadcast mode.
So clearing the buffer.
Exactly. You have to let them finish broadcasting before they can switch to receive.
Okay, let's bring this all together. Let's talk about a salary negotiation. That's the ultimate difficult conversation for so many people.
It is. It hits all three layers.
Okay, so layer one, what happened? I think I deserve a raise based on performance. I think the budget is too tight. Layer two, feelings. I'm scared of rejection. You might be annoyed at the pressure.
And layer three, identity. If you say no, I feel worthless or unappreciated.
It's a perfect storm.
It is. So using the tools. First, you ground your identity. My worth as a person is not determined by this number. That stops the quake before it starts. Then you check your purpose. I want to understand how compensation is decided and express my value.
And then the third story entry.
Right. It might sound like this. I've been looking at the market rates and my recent project outcomes, and I see a gap between my current comp and the benchmarks. I also know you're managing a tight budget. I'd love to understand how you're thinking about compensation cycles this year.
That is so much better than I need a raise or I quit.
And notice it opens the door for them to be honest about the budget without attacking your performance. You're collaborating on closing a gap, not fighting over money.
The biggest takeaway for me, really, is this paradigm shift. We're moving from seeing conflict as a battle to be won.
To seeing it as a learning conversation. That's the whole shift. If you change your goal from winning to learning, the anxiety just drops by about 50% immediately.
You don't have to carry the burden of being right.
You just have to be curious.
And the authors make a really beautiful point about the long-term effect of this. It's not just about the moment. It's about the relationship itself.
Absolutely. Unresolved conflict is poison. It festers. But when you navigate a difficult conversation successfully, when you actually hear each other, the relationship comes out stronger.
It builds trust.
You trust each other more because you know you can survive the hard stuff. Real peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the ability to handle conflict.
So here's our challenge to you, the listener. We all have that list of difficult conversations we're avoiding. They're taking up RAM in our brains right now.
They are ruining your sleep.
Pick one. Just one. Yeah. But before you have it, do the diagnostic. Ask yourself, what's the third story here? How can I frame this as a neutral gap we need to close?
And check your identity. Are you avoiding it because you're afraid of what the conflict might say about you? Ground yourself, get curious, and go have the talk.
It won't be easy, but according to Stone, Patton, and Heen, it is the only way to move forward.
Better out than in.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into difficult conversations.